Have you ever been to the Burning Man festival out in the Nevada desert? I have not. A bunch of people go out there, they dig a playa, they dance their asses off for a week, and then they burn a giant wooden effigy on a hill, and everybody watches. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds pretty fun until somebody winds up dead. And that's what happened just recently, August to be exact. A guy was found dead outside the festival grounds in the middle of the Black Rock Desert, and he is still unidentified almost a month later. It's like he vanished into thin air. What the hell happened here? Let's break it down. First up, let's set the scene. In case you don't know, Burning Man takes place annually in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada, and it's been going on since at least 1990. It's become one of the largest festivals in the world. Tens of thousands of people from all over the planet show up every Labor Day weekend to get their freak on and celebrate radical self-expression, self-reliance, communal effort, and a whole lot of burning. The event typically lasts 8 days and takes place on a dry lake bed called the playa. The playa is a vast expanse of cracked earth and alkali flats surrounded by mountains, and it's at the foot of a hill called the Man that participants gather each year to burn a giant wooden effigy. This structure, which is often over 50 feet tall, is meant to represent a man. But the sculpture can look like anything the organizers want. Each year, the artwork is different, but the ceremonial burning is always the same. So imagine you're standing in the middle of the Nevada desert, staring at a gigantic wooden structure that looks like an alien from the planet Zargon with a human face. You're among tens of thousands of other people, some of whom are dressed in costumes or body paint. Others are completely nude. A DJ is playing trance music at ear-splitting levels. And then suddenly the effigy bursts into flames and falls to the ground in a shower of sparks and cheers. Yeah, it's weird, but that's Burning Man for ya. And while it might sound like your typical music festival, the event has its own set of rules. Burners must bring all the supplies they need to survive, including food, water, and fuel for their campfires. They must also leave no trace of their presence behind when they depart. And they must follow a code of ethics that emphasizes respect, radical inclusion, gifting, decommodification, participation, immediacy, and leaving no trace. In short, Burning Man is supposed to be a celebration of art, freedom, community, and self-reliance. But this year, things didn't quite go as planned. Here's what we know about how this murder mystery started. The 2023 edition of Burning Man was, well, pretty normal until the end. On Saturday, September 2nd, the temple was burned, the man was burned, and everyone went home. But 3 days earlier, on Wednesday, August 30th, something terrible happened. That's when deputies from the Pershing County Sheriff's Office received a call reporting a deceased person near the giant wooden effigy. When they arrived at the scene, they confirmed that the person was dead. From the condition of the body, detectives believed that the man had been dead for about 2 days. When they started investigating, they realized that nobody knew who he was. He had no ID, no wallet, no phone, nothing that could identify him. Even stranger, nobody seemed to recognize him. To this day, his identity remains unknown, so we're going to refer to him as the John Doe or the victim. The sheriff's office says that the John Doe was between 35 and 40 years old, around 5'11", medium build, white male, graying brown hair, brown eyes, and no distinguishing tattoos or scars. He was last seen wearing a black vest, dark gray shirt, dark gray pants, and gray and white shoes. If you know anything about this man, contact the sheriff's office. At the time of this video, the only other details released by police were that the death wasn't a suicide, and they weren't sure whether it was an accident, a homicide, or something else. Now, normally, when someone turns up dead, especially after being identified, we see these types of updates pretty quickly. But in this case, the victim still hasn't been identified. So clearly the cops aren't getting much traction with the public. Scene is out in the middle of the desert, it's remote, there aren't many witnesses. Hell, there isn't even a victim. And according to the sheriff, about 70,000 burners were out there that week. It's possible that the killer is still blending into the crowd. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked that the cops haven't arrested anyone yet. Another thing that's really strange, is that nobody seems to care. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but the news coverage on this is next to non-existent. After this story dropped, I saw one article on Fox, one on New York Post, and one on Daily Mail. There was a little blurb on the Miami Herald website, but that's it. How does a 40-year-old man turn up dead in the desert and the rest of the world moves on like nothing happened? Sure, we got the occasional follow-up from the sheriff's office, but we haven't gotten any new information since September. I mean, take a look at this. The sheriff is practically begging us for help. Quote, "We know that there were several individuals out on the playa who knew this man, who spent time with this man, and we need them to come forward. Any information, no matter how small, may be helpful." And don't forget, the sheriff added, quote, "Our thoughts are with the family and friends of the deceased during this very difficult time." That doesn't sound like a guy who thinks that his victim had no friends or family. He knows damn well that this guy was loved by somebody. In my opinion, the sheriff is embarrassed. He doesn't know why his department is even involved in this. He wants to wash his hands of this case immediately. And I don't blame him. This is a small department. They handle about 800 calls a year, mostly noise complaints and medical emergencies. This is the first murder they've dealt with in over a decade. The good news is that they seem competent enough. The bad news is that they're totally overwhelmed. Nevada is a massive state. Their crime labs are backed up for months. Witnesses are hard to track down. And unless the victim is identified, this is going to be one hell of a long investigation. At this point, it feels like the victim is already forgotten, like his story isn't worth telling. But to the people who love him, that couldn't be further from the truth. Let me tell you a story. Last April, a woman named Susan Burke disappeared. She was 69 years old and she lived in Reno. She was last seen wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt, blue jeans, and white tennis shoes. That was on April 12th. Her family waited 101 days for her to be identified. And when her body was finally recovered, her family was determined to keep her memory alive. Quote, "This is our mother," said her daughter Stacy Taylor. "This is who she is. We'll continue to tell her story." Well, that's exactly what we're gonna do here. The people who knew this man loved him. Somebody out there misses him. And even if the killer gets caught, nothing will bring him back. So until justice is served, his story will live on right here. Now, if you know anything about this case, please contact the authorities. Anything you know could help the victim's family get closure. That's it for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe out there.